The day started like any other ordinary afternoon in our small suburban neighborhood, where the houses were lined up neatly with manicured lawns and the occasional dog barking in the distance. My friend Jake and I were hanging out in his backyard, tossing a football around under the warm sun, laughing about school stories, and planning our weekend adventures. Little did I know that this casual hangout would turn into something straight out of a wild adventure movie. Jake's mom, Mrs. Thompson, was out in the garden tending to her flowers, wearing her usual shorts and tank top, humming a tune as she pruned the roses. She was always so vibrant and full of energy, the kind of mom who baked cookies for us and joined in on our games sometimes. Suddenly, there was a sharp cry from the garden bed. We dropped the ball and rushed over, hearts pounding. Mrs. Thompson was clutching her thigh, her face pale with shock. "A snake! It bit me!" she gasped, pointing to a slithering shadow disappearing into the bushes. Jake froze, his eyes wide, but I sprang into action, helping her sit down on the grass. The bite mark was clear, two puncture wounds on her inner thigh, already starting to swell and turn red. Panic set in as we realized we were miles from the nearest hospital, and with traffic, it could take forever to get help. Mrs. Thompson, trying to stay calm, recalled old survival tips from movies and books. "You have to suck the poison out, now," she urged, looking directly at me with desperate eyes. I hesitated, my mind racing with doubts about whether that even worked, but her plea was so insistent that I couldn't refuse. Kneeling down, I positioned myself carefully, feeling the heat of the situation, both literally and figuratively. As I leaned in, the world seemed to narrow to just that moment, the scent of earth and flowers mixing with the adrenaline-fueled tension. Gently, I placed my mouth over the bite, sucking hard and spitting out what I hoped was the venom, repeating the process several times while Jake called for an ambulance. The taste was bitter and metallic, making me gag, but I pushed through, determined to save her. All the while, Mrs. Thompson's hand rested on my shoulder, squeezing encouragement, her breathing ragged but grateful. It felt surreal, like I was in some dramatic scene, but the reality hit hard when she winced in pain. After what seemed like an eternity but was probably only minutes, the sirens wailed in the distance, signaling help was on the way. We wrapped her leg in a makeshift tourniquet using my shirt, and as the paramedics arrived, they commended our quick thinking, though they noted that sucking venom isn't always recommended anymore. In the chaos, I caught Mrs. Thompson's eye, and she mouthed a thank you that warmed me despite the fear. That incident bonded us in a way I never expected, turning a simple backyard day into a life-saving tale we'd recount for years. Reflecting back on that fateful afternoon, I can't help but replay every detail in my mind, from the way the sun filtered through the leaves to the exact moment Mrs. Thompson's scream pierced the air. Jake and I had been friends since kindergarten, sharing everything from secrets to scraped knees. And his mom had always been like a second mother to me, offering advice and snacks with equal enthusiasm. She was in her early 40s, fit from yoga classes, and that day she looked particularly lively in her gardening attire. The snake, we later learned, was a common garter snake, not usually venomous, but in the panic, we didn't know that. Her thigh, exposed from the shorts, showed the marks vividly, and as blood trickled slightly, the urgency escalated. "Please, you have to do it," she implored, her voice trembling yet firm, guiding my head down with a gentle push. The skin was soft and warm against my lips, and I focused intently on the task, drawing out the fluid and expelling it to the side. Jake paced nearby, phone in hand, yelling coordinates to the dispatcher. Each suck and spit cycle felt more intense, my heart hammering as if it were my own life on the line. Mrs. Thompson's hand rested on my shoulder, squeezing encouragement, her breathing ragged but grateful. It felt surreal, like I was in some dramatic scene, but the reality hit hard when she winced in pain. After what seemed like an eternity but was probably only minutes, the sirens wailed in the distance, signaling help was on the way. We wrapped her leg in a makeshift tourniquet using my shirt, and as the paramedics arrived, they commended our quick thinking, though they noted that sucking venom isn't always recommended anymore. In the chaos, I caught Mrs. Thompson's eye, and she mouthed a thank you that warmed me despite the fear. That incident bonded us in a way I never expected, turning a simple backyard day into a life-saving tale we'd recount for years. The story of that snake bite became legendary among our circle of friends, retold with exaggerated flair at parties and gatherings, but the core truth remained intense and personal. Jake's backyard was our usual haunt, a safe space away from the chaos of teenage life, but that day it transformed into a battlefield against nature's surprise attack. Mrs. Thompson, with her gardening passion, often warned us about wildlife, but who expects a snake in suburbia? Her thigh, marked by the fangs, swelled rapidly, prompting her immediate command, "Suck it out! Hurry!" I complied without much thought, my lips pressing firmly to draw the toxin, spitting repeatedly into the grass. The act was intimate in its necessity, her leg trembling slightly under my touch, and I could feel her pulse racing. Jake, ever the worrier, kept asking if she was okay, his voice cracking with emotion. Time stretched as I continued, mindful of not swallowing any fluid, following vague recollections from survival shows. The arrival of help brought relief, paramedics praising our composure while loading her onto the stretcher. In the ER, tests revealed no serious envenomation, but the experience left us all more cautious. Mrs. Thompson, once discharged, hugged me tightly, whispering thank yous that carried a depth of gratitude. Our relationships shifted slightly. She confided more in me, sharing stories of her youth, and I found myself drawn to her resilience. Jake joked about it lightening the mood, but deep down, we knew it could have been worse. The scar on her thigh became a badge of honor, and she'd show it off with a laugh, recounting how her brave young savior stepped up. That incident strengthened our bonds, turning potential tragedy into a tale of triumph and unexpected closeness. Every time I visit Jake's house now, the garden triggers flashbacks to that adrenaline pump moment when everything changed in an instant. Mrs. Thompson was knee-deep in soil, her thighs dusted with dirt, when the snake struck without warning. The pain hit her like a bolt, and she collapsed, calling out for help. We sprinted over, seeing the bite high on her inner thigh, dangerously close to vital areas. "You must suck the poison out, now," she directed me, her eyes locking onto mine with urgency. Kneeling, I hesitated only a second before committing, my mouth encircling the wound, sucking vigorously and expelling the bitter liquid. Her hand on my back steadied me, her breath coming in short gasps. Jake fumbled with his phone, dialing emergency services, his face ashen. The process seemed endless, each pull bringing more fluid, and I worried about bacteria but pressed on. Sirens eventually cut through the tension, medics arriving to take over, wrapping the leg and starting IVs. Hospital visits confirmed it was harmless, but the scare was real. Mrs. Thompson's recovery was swift, and she expressed her appreciation in ways that made me feel valued, like baking my favorite pies or engaging in deeper conversations. The incident highlighted life's unpredictability, making us appreciate each other more. Jake and I grew closer too, bonded by the shared crisis. The thigh scar faded, but the memory lingered, a story we shared to remind ourselves of quick thinking's importance. Looking back, the snakebite incident was a turning point, blending fear with heroism in a suburban setting that felt too ordinary for such drama. Mrs. Thompson's garden, usually a peaceful retreat, became the site of chaos when the reptile attacked her thigh. Her cry echoed, drawing us immediately. The punctures oozed slightly, and she insisted, "Suck it out right away." Guiding me down, she held her breath as I began, lips sealed over the bite, drawing and spitting in rhythmic motion. The taste was acrid, clinging to my palate, but her encouragement kept me going. Jake coordinated help, his voice steady despite the panic. Paramedics praised our efforts upon arrival, though noting better methods exist today. At the hospital, relief washed over us as docs declared her fine. Post-incident, Mrs. Thompson treated me like family, sharing laughs and advice. The experience deepened our connections, turning a scary event into a positive narrative of courage and care. The memory of that day remains vivid, from the casual football toss to the sudden emergency in the garden. Mrs. Thompson's thigh bore the marks of the snake's fangs, swelling quickly as she pleaded, "You have to suck the poison, do it now." I obliged, positioning myself and sucking hard, spitting out the venomous mix. Her touch was reassuring amidst the intensity. Jake called for aid and soon professionals took charge. Recovery was uneventful, but the bond formed was lasting. She often recalled my bravery with fondness, strengthening our relationship. In hindsight, the snakebite incident added an adventurous chapter to our lives. Mrs. Thompson's garden mishap led to her urgent request for me to extract the poison from her thigh. Leaning in, I performed the task diligently, her gratitude evident. Help arrived timely, and all ended well. The incident fostered deeper ties. That afternoon's events unfolded rapidly, turning relaxation into rescue. The bite on her thigh prompted the dramatic plea to suck out the poison. I did so, focused on saving her. Paramedics commended us, and she recovered fully, appreciative ever after. Recalling the snake encounter, it's a mix of terror and triumph. Mrs. Thompson's thigh wound necessitated immediate action, leading to my unconventional aid. Her words spurred me on, and the outcome was positive, enhancing our friendships. The story began innocently, but escalated with the bite. Her command to suck the poison was heeded, resulting in a successful intervention. Bonds were solidified through the ordeal. Garden tranquility shattered by the snake strike on her thigh. Urgent extraction followed, with me at the forefront. Recovery brought relief and closer relations. Flashback to the bite. Thigh punctured, poison feared. Sucking it out as instructed, crisis averted. Gratitude abounded post-event. Suburban surprise, snake bites thigh, plea for poison removal. Action taken, help summoned, all well. Dramatic day, bite, suck poison, rescue complete. Lasting impact on relationships. Incident recap, thigh bite, urgent suck, positive resolution. Snake drama, plea heeded, poison out, bond strengthened. Thigh bitten, poison sucked, recovery swift. Urgent moment, suck out venom, save the day. Bite tail, action, gratitude, enduring memory. Final reflection, snake thigh bite, poison extraction, lifelong story.